I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be premarital sex and the pros and cons of each. I have a quick email here from a reader. He's actually sent me in a couple of emails. And the first one he says is, "Hey Corey, I've heard two sides to the premarital sex argument. Some people say that sex was designed for marriage because if you don't wait, you'll be trying to recreate the experience even when you are married, and that's what leads to cheating and divorce." Well, from my own experience, what I've learned, and having helped thousands of people over the years and coached thousands of people over the past decade of doing this, is what leads to sex and cheating is, number one, people don't have integrity and don't honor the commitment that they entered into. And the second one is that either one or both of the people in the relationship just simply don't know how to have a healthy relationship where they're meeting each other's needs. Because most people, when they get into a relationship, in the beginning they tend to focus on all the things that they like about the other person. But towards the end of the relationship, they're focused on the things that they don't like about the other person. And usually what happens is one or both people at some point stop putting their best foot forward, and the things that they really enjoyed when they got together and they fell in love, they're simply not enjoying those things or experiencing those things anymore. And eventually somebody ends up looking outside of the marriage to fulfill those things because people want to be fulfilled, and that's usually what leads to it. He says, others say that if you wait, you'll end up with someone you aren't compatible with sexually. I don't know what to believe. I say, well, the most important thing is you need to listen to what's in your own heart, trust your own feelings and your own inner guidance. And it really doesn't matter what I think or your friends think or your family thinks or anybody else thinks. The only thing that really matters is what you feel in your heart of hearts. Now, in my experience, it's true. Sometimes I've dated some really fucking absolutely gorgeous women. You get them naked in bed and they're uncomfortable in their own skin and they don't know how to move, and sex really kind of sucks with them. And you can imagine these are women that have had more than one partner by the time I got to having sex with them. So it's just, people have different sex drives. It's just a woman who's not comfortable in her own skin or comfortable in her own body, it's going to be very hard for her to open up and really enjoy sex and really get herself off. And as a man, we're all driven to succeed and to feel successful. And so if you're dating a woman who is never able to have an orgasm, or who has a really difficult time having an orgasm because she's uncomfortable, or she's uncomfortable screaming and moaning when she's on top of you because she feels unsure or insecure about her body or herself, I mean, those are things that would really suck. And I just imagine, I know there's lots of people out there, just because all the people I've talked to and coached over the years that get into a relationship, they decide they're not going to have sex, they're both going to remain virgins or whatever, until they get married and they start having sex, and it's just, the sex just totally sucks for whatever reason. And I personally think it's best to live with somebody for several years, have sex, but this is just my own personal opinion, and then eventually get married to that person. But the idea is that, why are you getting married in the first place? Is it because you're feeling peer pressure, or it's because what other people think you should do? The only time you should get married is if it's something that both of you want to do, and you're 100% sure that you absolutely want to spend the rest of your life with that person, and they feel the same way. Because a lot of people, like, I speak from my own experience. Now, the fact that I'm 42, I mean, I was married and divorced in my mid-20s, and the reason I did it is because I was young and I was weak and I was inexperienced. I hadn't dated a lot of different women at that time, and I basically married the first real girlfriend I ever had, just because I was scared that if I let her go, that I'd never find anybody else, or find anybody better, or worse, that I would find somebody that was worse than her, and then I'd end up spending the rest of my life regretting it. Because when you're young and you're experienced, you just simply, you don't know what you don't know, and you have to have enough experience and date enough women and sleep with enough women and have enough great relationships until you find somebody that you're compatible with, who you really want to spend the rest of your life with, or several years with. I mean, there's all different schools of thought. I mean, it's very rare to meet a couple that has been together for like 50 or 60 years and they're still crazy about each other. I mean, I've met a few couples like that over the years that I've interviewed, and it's beautiful. It's an honor when you get to be around people like that and just see how they are with one another, because they're like little kids that fell in love for the first time when they're 16 years old. They have a ball together, and they just have fun. They're always focused on meeting each other's needs. They have a lot of things in common. They have a lot of the same core values and needs and wants. And at the end of the day, it's like they all say the same thing. It's just, I just knew it was the right person from the moment I met her. They'll tell you that. And I've had a lot of experiences and relationships with women where when I met them, I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to be with this person the rest of my life. But as the months go by and the years go by, those feelings fade, they change. And I've come close several times since I'd gotten married and divorced in my 20s to almost getting married again. But deep down, the big mistake that I made in my 20s was not trusting my heart, not trusting my feelings. And every time when I look back on the relationships that I don't have anymore, that I'm obviously no longer in, I'm glad that those relationships ended. I'm glad that I didn't stay with that person, because deep down, I knew it wasn't right. And you got to trust your heart. You got to trust your feelings. You got to trust your intuition, because it will never leave you wrong. I found in life, whether it's not only relationships, but business and anything, when you don't listen to your feelings and your heart and your intuition, 9 times out of 10, you end up making mistakes or doing things that you regret down the road. And his second email here is that he says, I had a girlfriend recently who I managed to get into my bedroom after we hung out at my place. I got all of her clothes off and we made out, and things got really hot, and prepped her with my hand, and eventually she stopped me and said we should wait for marriage, and stopped me from going for it. This is odd, because a couple of minutes before that she told me that I want to fuck you. Should I have kept making out and going for it? Why would she let me take her clothes off and she didn't, and if she didn't want to have sex? Well, she did. She was getting caught up in the moment and she was enjoying herself, but at the end of the day, she's got to be able to blame the sex on you. It has to be the man's fault. And all you had to do was just hang out and caress and cuddle, and you should have gotten yourself naked and just laid there and explored each other's bodies and talked for a while, and then you make a move. It's like you go 2 steps forward and you take 1 step back. You take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I've talked about this in a lot of other videos I've done on this subject. And what happened was you just basically, you gave up at some point, because in her mind she's wrestling with what conditioning is, society's conditioned her to believe and to think. Probably religions played a part in that. But at the end of the day, marriage is something that is the invention of mankind. And when you look at the history of marriage going back thousands of years, you realize that you had a people basically that were not in intimate relationships. They were not having intimate relationships. They weren't raising families, but yet they're in turn telling everybody else how they should live and how they should interact with one another. I mean, you look at animals in the wild, they're all part of the divine energy like the rest of us are. They're not having weddings. I mean, there's very few animals in the animal kingdom that mate for life. So, but at the end of the day, you really got to trust your own tuition and your own heart and your own beliefs and your own values, and never put anyone or anything outside of yourself above what you feel in your own heart. Something to think about. It's different for everybody. It's your own personal experience. It's your life, and it's your choice. Don't let anybody else make that choice for you, or do what you think you should do. Do what you feel in your heart of hearts you should do. So if you have a question you want to ask me, or there's a topic you want me to cover in a future video newsletter, go to my website, click the Contact Me tab, which is going to be on the left-hand side of your screen. Send me 1 to 2 paragraphs max detailing your questions, your situation, your challenges, and you just got to give me several days to get back to you with a response, because I get a lot of email from the internet, and I also get a lot of it from my paying phone coaching customers. But be patient, and I will get back to you. And if you want to talk to me right away, the quickest way to get my help is to book a paid phone coaching session. And you can do that by going to my website, click the Products tab, which is going to be at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. If you want to get a digital version of my Kindle ebook, which I highly recommend, go to my website, and underneath the email sign-up box will be a box that will have a link that will take you to the Amazon Kindle download page for my book. Once you get there, on the right-hand side, there'll be a button, and when you click that button, it'll open up a window where you can download a free e-reader app for your Android smartphone, your Android tablet, your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, or your PC. Only takes a matter of seconds to download and install the app, and after you complete that, it only takes a few more seconds to complete the purchase of my book, and you'll be reading it in no time. and I will talk to you soon.